And today on Truth Bomb, we're blowing up some of the hysterical claims made by Democrats about this. The new ballroom Donald Trump is building on the east wing of the White House. Oh, no, wait, sorry. That's not the proposed new ballroom. That's an image of the east wing of Buckingham Palace, which a Democrat Party social media intern used in a post complaining about the ballroom because, of course, they're so angry about the project that they can't even see straight or read what's in front of their eyes. Now, I could show you a million examples of leftist commentators melting down over this proposed idea, but for pure distilled lunacy on the subject, let's go over and see what Whoopi Goldberg and the ladies of The View think about it.
That is not your building.
Correct.
You don't own that building. That would be like me going over to Trump Tower and saying I'm going to build a disco. You know, they've wanted a disco in Trump Tower for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, come on, man. You don't own that building. That is the people's building. You don't own it.
Let's sing it.
What? You don't own it. You cannot take it down. You don't own it.
Oh, I'm very sorry to have subjected you to that, dear viewers, but what can we even begin to say about this? I mean, look, we know the left hates a party, hates a good time, are grumpy scolds with nothing fun in their lives, and they hate Donald Trump. So, of course, they hate the idea of Donald Trump putting up this big, beautiful ballroom, can you believe it, people, attached to the east wing of the White House. Now, despite the fact that the White House really has no major entertaining spaces, leaving big events like state dinners to take place literally in tents like this one set up on the south lawn. I mean, we are talking about the renovations as if the demolition was taking down half the building instead of just a small annex. You can see it there on the bottom of your screen on the east wing. Though apparently in the process we are losing such historical gems as, wait for it, Eleanor Roosevelt's reading nook in the process. Man, I tell you what, I so voted for this. But look, it's going to surprise some of you to hear me say as a conservative this, but the White House has always changed, and it always will. When Thomas Jefferson added colonnades on the east and west wings, he was criticized for being extravagant and showy. Andrew Jackson added the famous North Portico. Could you imagine the White House without that? And he was called ostentatious for his troubles. And I tell you what, as America's first populist president, Jackson might sympathize with what Trump is going through now. FDR, he famously put in a swimming pool, which Nixon turned into the White House press briefing room, but not before JFK got to enjoy it, as Donald Trump pointed out the other day.
And we had this long wall with half windows because that used to be a swimming pool on the other side of the wall. That was the swimming pool where Jackie would say, "I hear women inside. Are women inside?" Quite a famous, I'm not saying anything, this was a part of a movie. And the Secret Service said, "No, ma'am, there's no women inside, ma'am. I'm sorry, ma'am, you're going to have to move along. But I hear women inside." "No, ma'am, you'll have to move along, ma'am." So that was the famous swimming pool. Now it's even worse. It's for the media.
And when taxpayers, not private donors, but U.S. taxpayers, funded major works on the White House, including the construction of a basketball court when Barack Obama was president, well, everyone thought that was just great.
Sounds like you're building another wing to the White House, but we appreciate you keeping your focus.
You can't even imagine, TJ. It's going to happen for the next 2 years. All of the banging, the jackhammering, the dust, the confusion, the noise of all places to do construction is happening right here, the front lawn of the White House.
It's a 4-year renovation project. Estimated cost, $376 million.
And I don't even want to get into the way the Bidens desecrated the White House, including during this event where trans influencers went topless on the White House lawn. And well, as far as Bill Clinton is concerned, the less said about his respect for the White House, the better. But there's a greater hypocrisy here. I mean, when the hell did the left ever care about such things as historical preservation, about things like patriotism, monuments, and traditions? Aren't these the same people who have spent every waking minute of their lives since at least the 1960s screaming about the dead white men who built America, who tore down statues not just in riots but in acts of officialdom, even melted them down in some sort of weird quasi-religious orgy of frenzy? They graffitied monuments and sought to install their own new alternate revolutionary traditions in their place? Yeah, sure. Tell me again about how much they care about preserving American traditions. They're not mad, I tell you this right now, they are not mad about a ballroom. They are just, once again, entirely deranged by Trump and his addition of something that will actually be useful to the White House and future presidents, even Democrat ones. Something that won't even be done, most likely, while he is still president. But again, instead will be a gift to future generations of Americans. That's what they're mad about, and there's your truth bomb for you.
Joining us now, a great friend of this show, filmmaker Ami Horowitz. Ami, great to see you as always back on Outsiders. Been lots happening. Just want to get your thoughts on this idea that Kamala might run again for president. And also, I guess, we also should talk about Steve Bannon suggesting that Trump himself may run for a third term and how that on earth that could play out. But let's kick off with Kamala Harris, Ami.
Yeah, I don't know why you're like snickering. Of course she's going to run. Obviously she's going to run. She decided not to run for the California governorship because she's planning on running. And by the way, she should be, because if you look at the way too early polls, of the last 10 polls, she's leading most of them. And the one she's not leading him, she's in second. And everyone is pretty far off outside of her. And it's really her and Gavin Newsom's race at this point. But I will say this is, don't sleep on AOC. Now, she's not running that tight right now, not running that high in the polls. But she will be, because she is going to get the endorsement of Bernie Sanders. And let's not forget that Bernie Sanders, when he ran for president, he could have been the Democratic nominee instead of Biden. He ran off and won the first 3 primaries, right? And the only reason why he lost is because Congressman Jim Clyburn in South Carolina said, we can't have this, and he stepped on, he put his foot on the gas and got the people in South Carolina, the black voters, to vote against Bernie Sanders. Otherwise, we would have had Comrade Bernie as a Democratic nominee. And that just tells you where the Democratic Party is. Look, there's a guy running currently for the Senate of Maine who is trouncing his Democratic opponent, Graham Plattner, who A, has a Nazi tattoo across his chest, right? B, he is a member of the Socialist Rifle Association, okay? These are the people who arm Antifa. I've seen those people when I went to Seattle and Portland. He's a outspoken supporter of theirs, and joked on a text that he's got a picture of an Antifa super soldier on his armor. These are the people who are leading their races. These are not has-beens or wannabes, or these are people who have real political clout right now in the Democratic Party. So yeah,
and also
political
clout is Zoran Mamdani in your beloved New York City. He's likely to be the next mayor. It's not a done deal yet, but he's there. But at the same time, we've got New Jersey right next door. Could New Jersey become a red state? The polls there are very, very interesting indeed.
Yeah, Mamdani has been, New Jersey has been flirting with becoming a purple state. And we've seen numbers over and over again showing they are moving that direction. And frankly, I got to be honest, I think that may be a direct result of how left New York City is doing, right? Saying, hey, guys, you can come here. You know, I know Mamdani says his number one issue is the housing crisis. Well, you know what's a great way to solve the housing crisis? When everyone leaves New York, all the apartments will be open.
But James.
Mamdani is going to, yeah, go ahead.
No, you carry on, Army.
Oh, well, yeah, I was just going to say. Oh, go ahead, yes.
No, James, you go.
Well, so sorry, I just wanted to pick you up on the point about Mamdani, because he has been saying some more and more extreme things, including a few days ago, he was saying that, you know, on 9/11, after 9/11, the big problem was that his aunt felt unsafe wearing her hijab on the subway. Now, I'm glad that we finally figured out who the real victim of 9/11 was here, but if Mamdani comes into New York, and I lived through the really bad days of the Dinkins administration, I imagine that it's going to be even worse than that. The economics, the defund the police stuff, the real succor that he seems to give to people who are, let's just say, not the biggest friends of Israel, really terrifies me about the direction that this really important city is going to go. And is this now the direction that the Democratic Party is going to go with its AOCs and this whole generation of young, hard-left politicians who are trying to clear out the old guard of the people who, by relative terms, look like absolute conservatives?
Well, you said it. This is not conjecture. We have an absolute roadmap on what can happen to New York City when you have these type of mayors. And you said it right. Look, the 70s and the 80s were post-apocalyptic. If you went to New York City, if you're watching, I just saw a movie from the 70s in my hotel room, and it looks insane. It looks like a bomb went off, right? It looks scary. Yeah, this is exactly what can happen. You talk about Mamdani and you talk about 9/11. I mean, why no one outside the conservative media has been talking about the fact that he took a picture grinning and smiling like an idiot with a man who's an unindicted co-conspirator of the 93 World Trade Center bombing. And something even more bizarre than that is that I looked it up. CNN and the New York Times didn't run a single article about it, okay? But this is really not, will he be, early voting has started. Early voting has already started. This is now a fait accompli. The wise guys in Vegas, they have it up to above 80 to 90%, depending who you're looking at. Curtis Lewa doubled down on not backing down, so thank you, Curtis, for that. Look, I happen to think Curtis has another motivation, frankly, if I'm being really cynical and honest. I think Curtis has no intention of dropping out because he wants Mamdani to win, because then he becomes relevant again. Look, he became relevant during the 70s and 80s that you were talking about, when you couldn't walk on a subway without knowing if you're going to be mugged or not. I'm afraid I don't want to say it. I like Curtis, but I think that's kind of the play here. And unfortunately, that's going to elect Mamdani as the next mayor of New York. And by the way, Hakeem Jeffries just came out in support of him. This is the highest-ranking House member, is now supporting a Marxist.
Scary times ahead. Ami Horowitz, great to chat to you as always. Thanks so much for coming on Outsiders, and we'll chat again soon.